It was messed up. I mean, just to give you an idea, there was only one bar on Avenue A, the Park Inn. Avenue A had just been paved, Avenue B had not, Avenue C had not. They were still just messed up cobblestone streets. The neighborhood was pretty much a bomb site. So my initiation was on a Yamaha SR 500. I'd get up every morning at 6 o'clock. I had no pipe on it. It was the loudest thing in the world. I'd wake up the whole neighborhood, drive up to Harlem 110th Street and work up there at Morningside Park. And I just got hooked on the whole motorcycle thing, really loved it. Riding up and down the FDR every morning, you get really into it. And met some other people with bikes. They told me about Bear Mountain, started riding up to Bear Mountain and just really enjoyed the motorcycle scene. So there was a neighbor of mine who lived in a storefront. He used to see me showing up on the bike, and one day he opened the storefront and he rolled out a 1970 Tiger. And that was the first British bike that I'd ever really seen. And that was like, wow, look at that thing. It was just absolutely amazing compared to my Yamaha. I was like, wow, I want one of them. So we went out for a couple of rides a couple of times, and one day he said, here, try this. So I rode it, and it was like, okay, this is the bike for me. So I said, all right, find me a bike. I didn't know how to or how to go about it. He said, sure, and he had contacts in Philly, which is where he was from originally. And one day he showed up and said, I know a guy who's selling a BSA. You want a BSA? And I was like, I don't know. So I was like, okay, we'll go and get the BSA. So we went down to Philly, and we got an A65, and it was the usual thing, leaking gas tank, falling apart, no pipes. Absolute disaster. Loved it, got on the bike, straight up the turnpike, through the tunnel into New York on this BSA. And that was a real education because the thing just didn't work, and every day it was this trial and I couldn't get it going. One day I was out front kicking and a neighborhood guy came by and said, you can't start that? I was like, no. And he said, you need to talk to Wes Henderson. I'm like, who's Wes Henderson? He was like, oh, he's this guy, he's an old black Indian dude called Moondog. You'll get a kick out of him. So he called out Wes, just to let you know, this is before cell phones, before computers or anything like that, you know. So he called out Wes, and this guy strolled around a couple hours later, and he had a little brown pencil case, and he had a plug wrench and a couple of little tools. And he just sat down at my bike and he took the timing cover off and looked in there and he saw the points and he took the spark plugs out and he just fucked around with it for a minute and he kicked it and it started right up. I was like, wow, that is truly amazing. You know, how did you do that? And he couldn't explain to me what was really going on, but I realized right there and then I was going to have to learn how to fix this motorcycle if I was going to keep it. Well, I instantly went through 3 motors, blew one up. Didn't really know how to deal with that. Bought a motor. It was easy to get stuff back then. Bought a motor right on the sidewalk in Avenue B, put it in the bike, went down the FDR, blew it up, brought it back, got another motor, put it in there, blew it up again. 3 BSs later, I was like, fuck BSs.
You still have all those cases, right?
Probably all down in the basement. Yeah. So I said, okay, I really wanted a Triumph. Enough of the BSA stuff. So I got my first Triumph, which was a 66 with a 71 motor in it. Put the whole thing together, went down the FDR, all the push rods jumped off, broken down. I was like, God damn, I just can't get a break. Towed it back up to the place, started learning to fix them, and from that day on, I guess I've just been fixing motorcycles. So, let me check my notes. Okay, at that time, the East Village, as I was saying, was a place that was really, really blooming. There was tons of people coming into the neighborhood. There was tons of energy. Every block had an after-hours club that opened at 4 in the morning. It was open till 9 in the morning. Some of you guys are going to know about this scene. It was quite an incredible place to be. You know, there were Lambo Lounge and Gracie Mansions galleries and all this graffiti art going on and all of their, you know, galleries on St. Mark's and stuff. It was very, very exciting. So the whole scene was going up, and more and more people started to get motorcycles in the neighborhood. one day I came out my place. I was going to Odessa with my girl, and we had dinner over there. And when I was coming out the place, I saw a Triumph part next to me. I was like, oh, there's a British bike. Look at that. So I checked it out for a minute. I was like, okay. So I went round the corner to Avenue A, had some dinner at Odessa. When I came back, there was this guy sitting on it. I had left my card on the tank. This guy is sitting on it, reading my card. Someone up said, hey, how you doing? Nice bike, blah, blah, blah. That's mine right there. And he was like, yeah, I saw that thing. So I thought I'd park next to it. His name was Dmitry Turin, who was a Russian guy whose family had moved a couple of times for various reasons, but he had ended up living in Boston, and he had ridden down to New York to cop some dope. He was in town to get a bundle of heroin, and he had just copped and had just done his dope, and he was really fucked up sitting on the bike, and I was like, dude, you can't ride like that. So he came up to the apartment, and 6 months later, literally 6 months later, this guy was just in the house. So you strike up a friendship with somebody like that. It was a crazy time. I guess I was about 24 at that point, 25. Everything was all about heroin, cocaine, going out, getting drugs, getting fucked up and drunk, and then riding motorcycles around, going out and buying more drugs and going to all these after-hours clubs, and just about everybody you knew was a junkie or doing dope or something, you know. So it was a really interesting time. God knows how we survived it. Some of us survived longer than others, but the friendship grew over that whole sort of scene, and the motorcycle thing grew, and because we started running around, we started to notice other guys. This guy, Nick Banks, showed up one day. He was on a Norton, we're just kind of riding along, and suddenly there's a guy on this pretty red 850 Commando. It was like, hey, how you doing? And instantly the British bike thing kind of grew, and then there was another guy and another guy. And I already had a little ground floor workshop where I was making stuff like bits of furniture and stretching canvases for artists and doing shit like that. And suddenly all of that got